Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dudes of all teenagers, welcome. Welcome. All right, we're back with some more with some more Pokemon FireRed. Let me go ahead and get it all loaded up for us. There we go. And okay. Should start loading. There we are. Look at that. Okay, so today we're not actually going to be doing we're not going to actually be fighting the Elite Four today. No. My goal is to try and put together the best party that we can prepare for the Elite Four. Also for the fight afterwards, which is the fight with Gary. Well, with Blue or Gary or whatever you name the guy. So to do this, because I think he'll finally have 6 Pokemon at that time. To do this, I've got a few things I want to do. I want to get my party over level 60, each of them. Obviously, that's not a problem for Charizard. Not at all a problem for Charizard. I want to get my party over level 60, and I'm going to want to kind of metagame a little bit of who and what my party is going to consist of. So we're going to be doing a lot of we're going to be doing a lot of grinding today, which means that we're going to mostly be operating in the fast forward function available because of our emulator, which I know it's not the best. It's not the greatest. It's not the greatest thing to have to sit around and deal with. I get that. However, we've done all the big stuff. You know, we stopped Team Rocket. Let's see. We've stopped Team Rocket. We've collected all 8 badges. Like, really, at this point, the only things to do are the Pokemon League and then whatever's in Cerulean Cave, or the Cerulean Cave after the Pokemon League. So that's what we're up to. That's basically everything. And I want to dedicate an entire episode to the Pokemon League and whatever comes after the Pokemon League. Because again, I've not played FireRed. I don't know what comes after the Pokemon League. Now, I am going to be using some guides to go ahead and look some things up here. I want to know can we get Mewtwo? Is it possible to catch Mewtwo? Okay. Well then, okay. Okay. So, never mind. Some Mewtwo stuff. Mewtwo stuff will Mewtwo stuff will come later. That's fine. Mewtwo stuff will come later. That's not a problem. That's not a problem at all. Okay. Well, I mean, that's helpful. That's helpful. Let's see. Can we get Mew? If we can get Mewtwo, we should be able to get Mew. How do we get Mew? Let's see here. Let's see here. Also, you know what? Because we're going to be sitting here for a little bit, I'm going to put on some music for us. We're going to go with some lo-fi. Where's the lo-fi playlist? Where's the Stream Beats? There we go. Stream Beats lo-fi. Okay. Okay, we're going to be sitting here for a little bit as I go ahead and figure out how to get some of these characters here. Okay, how to get Mew in Pokemon FireRed. Mew is a glitch in the game that allows players to meet and capture this mythical Pokemon. The most well-known method is the Old Man glitch. This involves talking to an old man in Cerulean, using teleport outside of battle, and then trading Pokemon to trigger a battle with Mew. Right, okay. Uh-huh. Okay, well that didn't tell me much of anything. I tried reading ahead a little bit in that article, and that didn't actually tell me how it works. Alright, let's see. I don't know why there's a WikiHow article about this, but I'm going to assume that it's useful. Nope. Nope. This one says either trade for it with someone who has it, or use action replay codes, which that's a little bit more cheating than I want to do. Okay, that's a little bit more cheating than I want to do. I want to emulate the game, and I'm going to use fast forward as a function for us to grind some stuff out. But that's about it. That's about it. There's got to be a guide for this, right? Hmm. Oh, really? I have to get the National Pokédex from you as well? Hmm. Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, if that's the way it works, then that's okay. Let me see. Fairway Island. Let's go ahead and look. Okay, then. Alright, I mean, hey, if I have to wait until after the Elite Four for Mew and Mewtwo, that is not a problem. That's actually probably a preferred scenario, really, all things considered. What that means is that we can just dedicate all of our time to getting everybody up to about level 60-ish, which is even better. Okay, there we go. We're back in the game. Actually, you know what? I should probably leave the music on, because we're going to be doing fast-forward stuff quite a bit. I'm going to turn the game music down for this. All right. Why did I don't know why I came to Cinnabar. Cinnabar isn't where I get on. Is not where I get back onto the trail, is it? No. So, you know what? Let's start by getting everyone to level 50, because that's going to be easier than getting everyone to level 60. We're going to start with getting everyone to level 50. And there it is. There it is. Awesome. I want Articuno. I want you in, I believe... No, was it Celadon? I always forget where I actually want... No, I think it was cerulean. Could be wrong, but I think it was cerulean, right? Of course it wasn't cerulean. Okay. I want, because I'm trying to get back to the to the islands 1, 2, and 3. We'll try Celadon. I don't think it was Celadon either. No. 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 Celadon's Celadon's the one that's got the big mall. Okay, Vermilion. It is Vermilion. I need to remember that it's Vermilion. All right. Well, we're gonna be training Pikachu first. But before we do so, yes, I do. Let's go to 3 Island. All the way out there. All right. Let's go ahead and do it. We're going to be doing a lot of fast forward. Because we are going to... all that we're here to do is we're just here to... we are just here to train for today. Just here to train. Nothing special, nothing crazy. We're just training today. We are leaving... we're leaving the Elite Four for the next episode. We're going to be doing a lot of fast forwarding. All right. We definitely need bigger challenges than that. Wonderful. Rock Blast, yes! Rock Blast is so good. It's almost ruined our day many times. Many times. Let's get rid of Scary Face. Replace it with Rock Blast. All right, level 41 Eradicate. Good. Good. Basically, this is kind of it. We can kind of just shoot it at this point. All we're gonna be doing is just sort of hanging here and speed leveling everybody. Oof. Okay. Perhaps Charizard should be the cannon for this one. Probably. Yeah, looks like the proper cannon for this one is gonna be our big boy. All right, you know let's head to 2 Island. We can go ahead and... Yeah, we'll wait on Rhyhorn, okay? We'll wait. We'll wait. Item, take... Yes, I know. Item, give. There we go. It's a little bit of a boring stream, but it leaves me open to talking, is what it does. It leaves me open to talking. I don't have a whole lot I need to focus on today. We're basically just going to be sitting here doing this for the next however long. Oh, come on. All right, good job, Eradicate. All right, let's... Come on! Level 65. You love to see it. Come on. Nice. Good job, Radicate. We're just gonna tire out our Charizard here. Oh, come on. Oi, come on. Come on. Ugh. Okay. Ooh, good job, Radicate. Level 45 already. Oh, come on. There we go. right. Well, I hope everyone else's day has been pretty solid. I know this is going to be a lot more boring than the average Pokemon stream, or at least a lot more boring than I try to make the average Pokemon stream. Okay, no one tried to learn anything new. That's all I needed to know. Good job, Raticate, level 45. Anything? No? Okay. Nothing crazy. Alright, well, we'll definitely have Raticate up to 50. Then, so I'm trying to think, should I bring in Zapdos or Moltres? Ugh. Because I've got two Pokemon that already kind of fill those roles. Obviously, I've got Charizard and I've got Pikachu. Other than being birds, I don't really know what their advantage is to me. At all, really. I don't know what their advantage specifically for fighting the Elite Four. Other than being like, hey suckers, look at me. I'm so good. I tamed the legendary bird Pokemon of Kanto. The bird trinity of Kanto. Like that's a pretty solid flex. I'll give him that. That's a nice flex. But is it necessary? Not really. Is it gonna give me any mechanical advantage? I don't think so. Not that I can tell, anyway. All right, well. There we go. Oh, there we go. It's a little bit of a challenge doing all this in super speed. There we go. I should probably put Blast Burn down there, have wing attack at the top. Yeah. Because I use wing attack so much more often than I use anything else. It's a pretty solid all-arounder. It's got 35 uses, so it's gonna stick with me for a while. And everything else is a special move. But we're definitely gonna get our main party up to level 50 today. So see, this is another thing I'm trying to think. You know what I'm gonna actually do? I'm gonna pause there real quick. I'm gonna check. The Elite Four of FireRed. Okay. So we've got an Ice type special, a Fighting type special, a Ghost type special, and a Dragon type special. And then we've got a pretty and then when oh, here we go. So when green or blue or whatever you call him, I call him Gary. Well, I call him a different thing, but I named him Gary. He's gonna have He's going to have a party of, I mean, really, the only thing that's going to switch around on his party is going to be, like, 2 things. One of them, obviously, is he's going to switch around his starter, and then the second thing is going to switch around. He's either going to have a Gyarados and an Arcanine, or a Gyarados and an Executor, or an Arcanine and an Executor. Which isn't going to be much of a problem for us. Because everything else will stay the same. He'll have a Rhydon, he'll have an Alakazam, and he'll have a Pidgeot. And those 3 won't be troublesome for us to take down as long as Charizard stays bulky. They're not going to be a challenge for us really to take down. It's all coming down to the Elite 4 for me. That's really the challenge here, is just the Elite 4. Which means, you know, not the biggest challenge in the world, actually. Not the biggest challenge in the world. I mean, I guess the only difference is that they'll all be different levels at that point. Yeah, the biggest difference, really the only difference between the Elite 4 before and after we finish, because we can go back for a rematch. The only difference between before and after the rematch is that their Pokemon are just a higher level. That's it. That's all that it really is. And so that's pretty much all that's going to be. That's the only thing that's going to be a problem. Okay. I mean, really, that helps us. That really, really, really helps us. That means that we're gonna be just fine as long as we bulk up our boys. All right. So we're gonna have an Ice type, who I can ruin. The Elite 4. One of them is the Ice type specialist, which I can ruin with Charizard. Nope. No problem. I didn't get to hit the sneeze button, but I hope that didn't come through on mic. Second one is the Fighting type, which is perfectly fine because, you know, I can fly around, and again, Charizard's kind of gonna just ruin all their days. Really, the only one that's gonna be a problem for me of the Elite 4 looks like Lance. It looks like Lance is going to be the only one who's really trouble for me, because all of his Pokemon are Dragon types or have Draconic ability. Like Aerodactyl and Gyarados aren't technically Dragon types, in just their pure stats, but they can pull out Dragon moves. Similar to Charizard, I guess. But they're really my only concern, it seems. Yeah, that's about it. Lance really is my only concern here, because Gary, he's not going to be any trouble whatsoever. Not going to be any trouble at all. He is just he's basically just going to be, like, really the only difference is that he'll finally have 6 Pokemon. That's the only difference. He will finally have 6 Pokemon on his team. Which is good for me. Which is good. I mean, really, that just means all we have to do is we gotta get our party bulky. Good job, Raticate. Let's get bulky. But other than that, we're kind of just chilling here today. You're kind of just chilling. I'm definitely going to upload this VOD, but unless there's anything special that happens in it, I'm probably going to suggest that, that, you know, it just gets skipped. I'm going to upload it because I did stream it, or I am streaming it, and it is important for the following Pokemon stream. This really is one of the things that Coromon did very well. The fact that you can choose to forfeit a turn in order to regain some of your attack points. It's really nice. It's really helpful. Because otherwise you just need to keep a bunch of items on you, or always be within close enough range to a Pokemon Center. All right, Charizard 67. And Raticate 47. Okay, that's pretty good. I am genuinely most interested in leveling Rhyhorn today. Trying to get him to Rhydon because Rock Smash is just that it's kind of cheating. It's a little bit of cheating how good that move is. Nah, we can do it. Okay, that was our last use. That was our last hit. I have found myself trying to interact with things in other games using my emulator keyboard layout, and it's a little bit annoying, because it's nice that I don't have to use my mouse for anything in this game, but it's not my go-to. It's not my muscle memory. Or I guess what I'm trying to say is my muscle memory's kind of ruined, right, temporarily. Like, I was playing Minecraft super late last night while all this stuff was rendering, and I kept trying to open up my inventory with tab. Kept trying to open up my inventory with tab. Which is just horrendous for me. I have remapped some of the keys in Minecraft. For instance, tab is my chat key instead of T. But that's like really bad. Good job. 48 for Raticate. Yeah, we're very easily going to get Raticate to 50 today. And we can focus on Rhydon to Rhyhorn, or Rhyhorn to Rhydon. Yes, there we go. Rhyhorn to Rhydon. That'll be nice. And then, you know, if we have the time, I would also like to go back to the Safari Zone and try and get Scyther. Because I didn't know we could get Scyther yesterday, and now I know, and now I want him. Because Scyther's really cool. And might actually be a solid balance on our Elite Four fight. There we go. Let's see. In other news. Oh, so I have been playing some, I've said this before, I've been playing some Fallout in my off time. Fallout 4 specifically, because I do enjoy this, as much as I don't think that game is a good game, I do enjoy the settlement system a lot. The settlement system's pretty solid. Or at least the settlement building system is pretty solid. I enjoy building in the settlements. And the way that that ends up working out for me is that I'm currently going around. You know, the game has been out for 9 years this year. We haven't hit the actual 9-year mark, but 2024 is 9 years since Fallout 4. And 6 years since Fallout 76, which I don't think anybody really thinks all that much about anymore. I'm sure some of you out there do, but you know what I mean when I say nobody. You know what I mean. Anyway, I really enjoy the settlement system, and I think that the settlement system is maybe one of the only good things that Fallout 4 did objectively better than previous Fallout games. Because I mean, the factions have basically no meaningful story to them. None of the factions really have any meaningful story to them. Unless you have a mod that specifically tells you what the lines of dialogue are going to say, the lines of dialogue that you can choose from aren't actually the words that your character speaks. The voice actors in a Fallout game as a whole, for the main character being a voice-acted character at all, is a massive departure from Fallout 4 from Fallout tradition, and kind of makes it a little bit more difficult for you to really roleplay the character as you want. You're very heavily railroaded into a no pun intended. You're very heavily railroaded into a story that you don't necessarily, you shouldn't necessarily have to do. And again, mods have been able to somewhat assist with this problem, but only to a degree, not entirely. I don't know. There's a lot. If I had the time and was not focused on grinding, I could definitely talk about all of the areas that Fallout 4 does objectively fail in comparison. But one of the only things that I actually did like in Fallout 4 that I thought was really a benefit to Fallout 4 in comparison to previous Fallout games was the settlement system. That really was like my number one big thing. Now, I there's an argument that could be made that you could also class the item modification as sort of a secondary, because previous Fallout games, if they had item modification, they had very limited item modification. And so, yeah, I can enjoy that as well. It gives new purpose to some of the skills that you gain. But it really does come down to, can you pick up 200,000 items? Yes? Okay, you're good. If not, then you're kind of screwed. So, you know, there is that. But if you're going to go around picking up 200,000 items, at least the settlement system is pretty cool. The settlement system can be pretty cool, and it definitely fits my playstyle, the settlement system. You know, I enjoy a little bit more of that Sims aspect to things. Actually, that might be an interesting thing to go ahead and stream, is the Sims. I don't know. It's been a very long time since I've played a Sims game. Like an official Sims game. It's been an extremely long time since I've done that. Alright, level 50 Eradicate. Trying to learn Endeavor. Ooh, what is Endeavor? What is Endeavor? It's a 5-use... Gains power the fewer HP the user has compared with the foe. That doesn't tell me what it does, though. Endeavor. Endeavor reduces the opponent's HP to equal the user's. It fails if the user's HP is higher than the target's. Ah! I see. Well... I can see how that would be useful, but ideally, Eradicate's HP is always going to be higher than their opponent's. But it's definitely useful. I could definitely see it being useful. Let's see. For the Elite Four, all of the Elite Four are going to be higher than level 50, which is already going to be a little bit of a task. They're going to be between level 50 and level 60. Which is why I would like to get the party entirely up to level 60, but I don't know if that's within the scope of the stream today. I think a good chunk of the stream we're gonna be spent on. We're gonna be focused on. Sorry, we're gonna be focused on getting our Rhydon, or rather our Rhyhorn, evolving him into a Rhydon and getting him to level 50. I think that's gonna be the bulk of the stream. I know we're almost an hour in already, and we've basically only been grinding Eradicate so far. But no, I think we're just gonna stop learning Endeavor for now. All right. So sorry, I was talking about the settlement system. So back to Fallout having been around for about 9 years. With the speed at which you complete the main story of Fallout 4 in comparison to the main stories of all of the other Fallout games, you can reasonably assume that Fallout 4, the main story of Fallout 4, takes place over the course of maybe a month, which is stupid. That's absurd. It should take you significantly longer to complete the kind of story that Fallout 4 is telling. The kind of story that Fallout 4 is telling, which is that basically the main character, either Nate or Nora, or whatever name you gave them, but Nate or Nora, the sole survivor, there we go. The sole survivor, the idea that the sole survivor has been alive for 200 years and is now entering into a world they do not recognize, it should take them significantly longer to get around and to get used to things. Every other Fallout protagonist, except for the protagonist for the original Fallout game, well, actually, to be fair, Fallout 3 also did something similar. The point being is that the Fallout games with the best stories have always had your character has always been a part of the world. Like they know how the world works. They know why it works a certain way. You know, I'm going to use New Vegas as a counterbalance to 4 because New Vegas was the game that came out just before Fallout 4 did. I think it was a 3 or 4 year. I don't remember when New Vegas came out. New Vegas came out in 2010. Okay, so yeah, there was a 5-year gap between games, but that was the New Vegas came out. New Vegas was the last Fallout game before Fallout 4. It was but if you look at Fallout 2, the Fallout Tactics games, whatever you think of the story, or Fallout New Vegas, or to an extent Fallouts 1 and 3, they have an element of, okay, my character, there's a little bit of a fish out of water scenario for 1 and 3, but it's not nearly to the extent of the fish out of water scenario that would be for Fallout 4, being that you know what the world was like before the bombs. You're kind of the only person who does know what the world was like, except for some ghouls out there, sure, but, you know... They may have lived for 200 years, but have their mental faculties remained for 200 years? Not always. Not always. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to do. I was going to go ahead and take the item. Give the item over here. There we go. But yeah. What I'm trying to say is the story of Fallout 4, it could reasonably said that it takes place over the course of maybe a month's worth of time, but it should take them several years. It should take them several years because they have to become acquainted with a broken world. They are essentially stepping onto a brand new planet. So much more complex than Fallout's 1 or 3, where yeah, you were a vault dweller, but you understood the dangers of the outside world. You're not jumping into the outside world for the first time. I mean, you're jumping into the outside world for the first time, but you understand there's significant danger in the outside world. These are the things you need to be prepared for. These are the kinds of people that are out there, and you'll hear whispers of things like super mutants, or the Enclave, or well, not in Fallout 1. It wasn't the Enclave. It was super mutants still. But you'll hear whispers of these extremely dangerous enemies. That's like, okay, that's going to be a challenge for me. That's going to be kind of tough. But I think I can if I'm smart enough, if I'm clever enough, I can probably talk my way through a lot of other things. And Fallout 1 certainly prized itself on the amount of flexibility that you had with how your character interacted with the world. Fallout 3 significantly less so, but this could be said with most, if not every, Bethesda game since. Would it be since Morrowind or since Oblivion? I'm trying to think. Either way, one of those two games kind of created the new Bethesda formula that was, we're going to tell you have, 1,000 endings to the game, but what we mean when we say that is that realistically we're going to give you a bunch of different ways to get to the exact same ending. If that. It really created the Bethesda formula for it, but Fallout 4, I mean, regardless of which party you choose, you very rapidly rise in the ranks of that specific faction. If it's the Minutemen, you basically become the general as soon as, like, if you just decide Preston's going to be your companion for, I don't know, 2 hours, he's basically like, I think it's time we retake the castle, General. And it's like, come on, man. Come on. The story elements as to how difficult the battle for the castle is supposed to be, and what it meant losing the castle. The story elements assume that the castle is going to be extremely difficult and nearly impossible for a ragtag group to go ahead and regain. But then you go to it, and retaking the castle is, we've got a bunch of Mirelurks to fight. And then a big Mirelurk. I mean, come on. Come on, man. For the Brotherhood of Steel, you know, there's a little bit more. There's a little bit more meat on the bones for the Brotherhood of Steel. I think that's because Bethesda's a big fan of the Brotherhood as a whole. Even if they treat the Brotherhood like bad guys, which, I mean, it could be done in an interesting way. They're pretty big fans of the Brotherhood. And so there's a little bit more meat on the bones for the Brotherhood, but very, very barely. You know, there's an interesting story that could be told there, with the Brotherhood's stance on synths, and how your I'm forgetting the name of the companion, Paladin Dance, and how Dance is himself a synth and just doesn't know it. That's an interesting conflict. A person who has dedicated, for as much as he knows, he's dedicated his entire life to an organization that hates him and still has a great love for the organization regardless of how they treat him. Like that could be a very compelling character, but they don't put enough effort into making that a compelling character or a compelling story to tell. And the end goal of the Brotherhood really is just we're just a new authoritarian group. They're not fascistic because there's a larger ideological assumption. There's many more ideological assumptions that need to be made for it to become fascistic. They're not really fascistic. They're just like they're what people. Let's see. How do I want to put this? The Brotherhood of Steel is the kind of fascism that people assume that Hitler was, when realistically Hitler was actually just an authoritarian socialist and made it very clear that he was not a fascist. He made it very clear that that he did not think that fascism was going to work because he didn't think that Mussolini was particularly smart in a variety of ways. But he thought that fascism was invented by the Jews. And it was communism or fascism that he thought was invented by the Jews, and then it was the other one that he thought was too gay. So he didn't like either of them. But the point, what I'm trying to say is, like, the way that we think fascism is, as people who have never had to fight fascism, that's basically what, as people separated generations from actual fascists, that's basically how Bethesda portrays the Brotherhood of Steel in terms of fascism. Obviously, I'm not saying fascism is correct in any way, shape, or form, but what I am saying is that the Brotherhood of Steel isn't actually fascist. They're just authoritarian, which in a post-apocalyptic world makes sense. It makes sense. You're going to have centralized leadership. You're going to have essentially warlords going ahead and taking large swathes of land. The fact that a place like the New California Republic can exist is a miracle in a wasteland. And the fact that the capital wasteland has fresh water and has, certain semblances of government, that's also a miracle. There's lots of absurdly important stuff that happens that can be told through some of the Bethesda storytelling. Now, whether or not it actually works, whether or not it actually shows through, comes down to how well it's handled in the actual game, how well the writing really shows through. I don't think that Emil Pagliarulo has done a particularly good job with any of that. I really don't. I wish I could say differently. And when Fallout 4 was my first Fallout game, and so, you know, I thought at the time, oh, this is really cool. And then I played any other Fallout game, well, except 3. I never really was a big fan of the story of 3, but I played 1, 2, and New Vegas, and I'm like, oh, okay, so I see why people don't like. I can completely see why people don't like Fallout 4. Absolutely. Absolutely, and it all comes down to the story. Sure, there's going to be mechanical differences. Sure, there's bugs. It's a Bethesda game. You kind of expect there to be bugs, all that kind of stuff. But, like, the only faction with real meat on its bones that could be compelling is the Brotherhood of Steel. Because the Minutemen are just generic good guys. They're the Rebel Alliance, basically. They're the Rebel Alliance for a post-apocalypse. And then the Institute are just kind of generically evil. Like, they're just kind of generically, not mad scientists. It's kind of boring. They have interesting ideas. They have a similar sort of interesting... They're kind of the opposite end of the spectrum from the Brotherhood of Steel. They're both authoritarian, and they're both not particularly moral groups in Fallout 4. But and they both have similar views on synths, funny enough. But they're the opposite end of the spectrum in such that the wasteland is not ready. The wasteland is neither ready nor is it deserving of any of the fruits of the Institute's labor, of the Institute's labors. They would rather control everything themselves. And the Brotherhood says, okay, the wasteland cannot be trusted with certain types of technologies, of course, because that access to that technology is part of what led to the end of the world as we knew it, or is what led to this post-apocalyptic wasteland. Which, okay, again, meat on the bones. There, you could definitely still do something with this, you know. I'm thinking of a great Carl Weathers bit from Arrested Development. Ooh, there's still meat on that bone. You throw what was it? Chop some potatoes, chop some carrots, get some potatoes. You got a stew going. Like, the whole point being, you know, don't waste any of the meat on the bone that you've got there for the story. Is what I'm trying to say. That's definitely not what the bit was from Arrested Development. But there's little bits and pieces there that's like, okay, you could do something interesting with this, but it was always just, let's take the simplest route. The simplest route in this case meant the simplest route in the case of the Institute meant we're going to turn them into the generic bad guys. They're going to have a scary skeleton robot army that looks generically evil. And we're going to have spoiler alert for a 9-year-old game that I'm sure everyone has played, but, you know, just in case, we're going to have the protagonist be the father or mother of the guy in charge, and they have to struggle with that. Which realistically, I don't know how much of a struggle that would be, because if we're supposed to take seriously how important Sean is to the sole survivor, which we should, because they're related. The sole survivor is their mom or dad. They care about them quite a lot. We should take that seriously. We should treat that very seriously. We should take them at their word when they say we do care. Then realistically, the parent would likely be more than willing to go ahead and join their child, if only because they're thrown into a post-apocalypse. They have no idea how this world works. They have no idea how they're going to survive in this world, other than it's a miracle they've survived this long, because they kind of don't really have the skills to do it. I mean, Nate has a better chance at it than Nora does, because he was in the military and actually had and actually saw combat and had some real world experience there. But Nora was a lawyer. Lawyers don't really do too well in a post-apocalyptic world. She would not have had any of the skills necessary, regardless of what you put in your special tree. She would not have had the skills necessary to survive long term, which is why a place like a Diamond City or a Good Neighbor, well, more of a Diamond City than a Good Neighbor, but still, this is why cities are important. This is why a group like the Institute would be so enticing to someone like Nate or Nora, because it's the most advanced, it's the most well protected. It's basically impossible to invade unless somehow you lock onto their frequency, which again kind of just feels like you're a little bit of Deus Ex Machina there with how Sturges can do that. It's a little bit more believable with a group like the Brotherhood of Steel, which has been around for 200 years, but still. It's kind of stupid that you can just like, oh yeah, this group that can teleport, we can figure that out. We can figure that out in what, 2 weeks? I mean, come on. It's dumb. It's dumb. But there's a mountain of reasons why it would make sense for the protagonist of Fallout 4 to want to join the Institute. Their child is in charge of it, which is kind of a big one, because the last thing they knew, their child was somewhere between 0 and 10 years old. Depending on, you know, the whole, depending on the other Sean bit, the synth Sean bit. But, yeah, their child is extremely young. They want to get back to their child. So, of course, they're going to be, it's a better incentive, you know? It's a much better incentive for them to want to join the Institute. On top of that, it's the most safe, most secure, most well-oiled machine of the different groups. There's not really a lot of infighting. Like, infighting comes down to, I'm going to write an angry memo about my coworker, and I'm going to complain to HR or something. Like, it's really stupid stuff, man. Like, it's really stupid stuff. The kinds of arguments that the people in the Institute have, but over the course of 200 years of an apocalypse, they're kind of the only group that has not only returned to... not only have they returned to the heights that were available in pre-war Boston, but they have surpassed those heights significantly. They should be treated so much more. And I don't... clearly, the Institute are the bad guys, but they should be treated so much more, with so much more intrigue and respect, and especially in writing a story about the Institute, they should be taken a lot more seriously than they end up being taken, as, you know, as actually an important, not just an important group in the sense that, well, of course they're an important group. We know that they're an important group. Ooh, Horn Drill. Okay, we're gonna go with Horn Drill. Sorry. Obviously, they're an important group, but there should be... You should give us better reasons to hate them than, well, can't you see that they sorry. Oh, jeez. The horn is rotated like a drill to ram. The foe will faint if it hits. Okay. Wow. Yeah, we'll replace Fury Attack. That's absurdly good. Sorry. You should give us better reasons to dislike the Institute other than, well, they don't like outsiders and they created this synth army, and maybe synths have you know, maybe their synths have silicon souls. Name that reference. Which, again, that's an entirely separate argument that could be interesting, but it's not. It's really not. It could be done in an interesting way, but the game doesn't give us an interesting answer. I'm getting into the weeds here. What I'm trying to say is, for all of the story failings of Fallout, for all of Fallout 4 specifically, for all of the story-based failings of Fallout 4, for all of the nonsense that is, how is it that the only major governmental bodies to exist 200 years after a post-apocalypse are the New California Republic and the Enclave? Which, I mean, Fallout 4 takes place roughly around the time of New Vegas as well. They roughly occur at approximately the same time, give or take a couple years. How are those like the only two major governmental structures? We hear about Caesar's Legion. All we see is a group of Romaboos, as I believe the Reddit term goes. A group of Romaboos who misunderstand the concept of dialectics and completely misinterpret a whole, like almost deliberately misinterpret philosophical discussions, and are again kind of just supposed to be bad guys. Now, I don't think that the slavery thing is like the most surprising thing in the post-apocalypse. Again, if it's a post-apocalypse, you should not expect that everybody holds to the same standards that we do today. You should not expect that people automatically assume slavery is evil. If we're living in a world after nukes have dropped and destroyed the planet, you should not expect that people think slavery is bad all of the time. like it is bad all of the time. It should not be expected that everybody believes that. It just shouldn't be expected. But whereas you actually, like, there was some amount of intrigue, and there was actually an attempt at an actual philosophical argument for why a group like Caesar's Legion would exist, which it does make sense. Again, the warlord concept. If an apocalyptic scenario like nukes do actually happen in the world today, it makes perfect sense that groups like Caesar's Legion or like roving bands of raiders, they would absolutely happen, because people need some amount of security, and they need some amount of control in their lives, and if that control ends up being a top-down, very unstable warlord scenario where the strongest rules, then that's how it works. That's how they survive for 200 years. And, I mean, that's how most of human history worked as well. So there's that as well. That's kind of how most of human history happened. It wasn't until the Greeks, the Romans, and the Greeks, the Romans, and the religious and philosophical influence of Judeo-Christian values came in that really changed the idea of, wow, maybe we should not have tyrannical warlords ruling. Maybe if we established a system of laws, maybe that has more importance and more power over these other groups. Again, I'm getting way into the weeds about these kinds of things. What I'm trying to say, what I'm really attempting to say here, is that Fallout 4 drops the ball on so many things, but the one thing I think it does rather well, even if it's super buggy, yes. The one thing I find very interesting that they do is by far the settlement system. And what I like to do, this is going to be a terrible VOD. Are you kidding me? This is going to be a terrible VOD. The one thing I really like to do is I like to go in every now and then. I'm like, okay, it's been X amount of years since the game came out, and I'm going to say it's been that many years since the events of the main story of Fallout 4, and all of the DLC. I'm going to say it's been, so like today would be almost 9 years. I'm going to go based off of the fact that 2024 is 9 years after 2015, even though the release date is not yet exactly 9 years. I'm going to say, okay, it's been 9 years. I sided with the Minutemen in the specific playthrough I'm going with because they offer me really the most options when it comes to settlements, as well as the way I played my version of Nate, which I mean, I just named him Christian. Well, I named the first one Christian. This one, point is, the point I'm trying to make here is that is simply that it's been 9 years, and I'm going to set it as, okay, if the Minutemen have been in control of the entirety of the Commonwealth over the course of 9 years, what advancements would they have made? What progress will they have made towards rebuilding the Commonwealth, towards bringing back a semblance of what previously existed? How are we going to show to the outside world? How are we going to start rebuilding in this corner of the apocalypse? I personally have major issues with the idea that 200 years have passed and there's maybe three stable governments in all of North America. You know, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me at all. Really, doesn't make a whole lot of sense at all. That 200 years have passed and there's really only three stable governments in North America. 200 years is the amount of... I mean, the United States has been around for less than 250 years. I believe this is the 248th year. This is the 248th year. Which means 38 years ago would be about the same amount of time from the birth of America to 38 years ago is the exact same amount of time between the bombs dropping in Fallout, the bombs dropping at the beginning of Fallout 4, and the time that you wake up and actually enter into the Commonwealth. A lot can happen in 210 years. A ton of stuff happens in 210 years. Are you kidding me? A ton of stuff happens in 210 years. There's no good reason... Well, one, there's no good reason that all of the radiation should still be around, so that's a little bit of a problem. But two, there's not really a good reason that there shouldn't be more... there shouldn't be a larger number of stable governments in North America than just the NCR, maybe Caesar's Legion, although Caesar's likely dead. Regardless, like, Caesar's likely dead at this point. And then one of the splinter groups of the Brotherhood of Steel. I mean, come on. Like, there should be significantly more stable governments out there that actually function and there should be a semblance of old America, if we're going to go with, because, the Fallout is a specifically American game, specifically American-focused game. I mean, all of the imagery, all of the aesthetics, everything, it's a very specifically atom punk, nuclear family, 50s look to America. So it's steeped in Americana as a concept, so we should definitely treat it like it's very clearly an American game. 200 years into the future, if the apocalypse were to happen today, 200 years into our future, there's no reason that there wouldn't be some kind of government, whether it's a monarchy, whether it's a representative government, a democracy, or a republic, whatever it happens to be. There's no reason that there wouldn't be 200 years from today, unless quite literally the continent was removed from the Earth. That's just kind of the only way you would stop it from happening. There's so many issues with the way that there's too many issues with the way that Bethesda has chosen to head the Fallout franchise as a whole. I do think that the Amazon show shows a lot of that. The Amazon show is not good. Is it as bad as I expected it to be? No. Does that mean that it deserves to be praised? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There's so many lore issues. Just on the lore alone, Bethesda is schizophrenic. Okay, they can't decide what is or what is not canon. It really comes down to, well, we think this would be cool now. We don't care if it's contradicted something that's important that has happened in the past, or that if they can do this, it makes no sense why that shouldn't have been possible. Oh, look at that. We got right on. That's awesome. If they can do this, it makes no sense that they shouldn't have been able to do X, Y, or Z previously. I think the scene, I'm forgetting the characters' names because I don't care enough about this show to pay attention to the characters' names. The scene with the scene where the ghoul goes ahead and basically where the ghoul takes the guy the guy in the Brotherhood of Steel power armor and just pulls him out of the sky. I mean, come on, you have to be kidding me. You have got to be kidding me. Come on. The lighting, I mean, it all looks like a really bad commercial. It looks like a really bad car commercial, all of the lighting to things. The effects are, some of the effects are good, some of the effects are fine, but the rest of them are just bad. And then, of course, all of the lore issues, which it's not really worth getting into right now as to why those exist. I mean, I know why they exist. It's very clear why they exist. The people who made the show want the aesthetics of the games and want the aesthetics of the world, but they don't want to have to worry about the actual canonicity of anything they're doing because of either A, why should we have to care? B, we prefer that you don't know anything, or C, we're actively trying to change this because we think something else has been problematic. Now, I don't know the exact statements from the creators of the Fallout show because it's just not top of mind. I'm interested in the games. It is not top of mind for me as to whether or not this show ends up being good. I don't see it getting 3 seasons. I see it maybe getting season 2, but I don't see it getting a 3rd season at all. It depends entirely upon how much people talk about it, really. Like, that's basically it. There's just a lot of problems. They give us really not a particularly likable protagonist who also does the least Fallout thing possible. And the stupid line that says I'm not a that goes something along the lines of I'm not a communist. That's just what ignorant people that's just a word that's used by ignorant people to describe smart people. Something along those lines. I'll have to go back and check the line. The line is the really stupid line. It's the least Fallout thing you could say. One of the least Fallout things that you could say, especially for someone who grew up in a vault, which means that they're inheriting all of they're inheriting all as much of the culture and way of life of the old world as humanly possible. Which means that they would be inheriting the vehemently anti-communist rhetoric of the old world. The last thing that you would catch one of them saying is, the last thing that you would catch any of them doing is propping up communism as anything other than just garbage, because that's how they would have been It's so stupid. It is, oh man, it is painfully stupid because they have chosen to misuse. They've chosen to specifically mischaracterize the old world to serve a specific purpose. This should not be a surprise. We know how people at Amazon vote. We know how people at Amazon want to portray 99% of the media that's on there. Some of the stuff is purchased and just purchased some of the stuff they just purchased the rights to stream it. And to basically be the producers behind it, but not actually have a hand in the creation of any of it. That does happen sometimes. But most of the time, it does come down to yeah, well, we want to push a specific political agenda using a very popular piece of media, which shouldn't be the case with any popular piece of media. The popular piece of media should be allowed to stand on its own and do its own thing. That's how it should work. That's really, really how it should work. How would you feel if you know, if Game of Thrones all of a sudden came out and gave you a 3-hour-long dissertation on the ethics of sorry, I'm very distracted right now trying to get back. Like, seriously, how would you feel if Game of Thrones, or I guess House of the Dragon, because House of the Dragon is actually pretty good. How would you feel if House of the Dragon came out and gave you a 3-hour-long spiel about, well, this is why monarchies are evil and all that? And it's like, what? Excuse me, this is a show about monarchies. This is a show about a war for inheritance. Come on, what's going on? Why in the world would you ever go and say, well, this is why monarchy's bad? Like, come on. It doesn't. It's just the complete opposite. It's the complete opposite of in the example of House of the Dragon, it would be the complete opposite of what House of the Dragon is doing, because if that was their view on it, then they'd go the exact same route as they went in season 8 of Game of Thrones, which nobody liked. Everybody can look at season 8 and say, "Oh man, that was horrendous. What happened? How did we get here?" And those of us who actually look at stories, which this isn't a slight on those who don't. This is saying that I pour all of my free time into understanding stories and playing them or watching them or reading them. You know, there's plenty of evidence starting at season 5 that we were going to get a bad ending to the show, but it became a very public thing with seasons 7 and 8, especially the end of season 7 and the entirety of season 8. It would, like, oh man, it's bad. But it feels like that's kind of, no, that wasn't bad. That was supposed to be the case. You just don't have enough media literacy to understand X, Y, or Z, which is a stupid argument. Okay, it's a stupid argument. Anyone could look at something, and if they're willing to look at it if they're willing to look at the components of what make the thing, they can very clearly say, oh, this works or this doesn't. There's a lot of bias built into an argument like the media literacy argument. There's a lot of bias into that. This isn't even close to the topic I started on. I wanted to talk about how I really like the settlement system from Fallout 4, because I like the idea of rebuilding the Commonwealth, and I like the idea of, okay, this is what I want the Commonwealth to look like approximately 9 years after the game. I'm just going to stick to that topic because I'm just getting way off track here. I'm not going to finish the previous point. Just completely... that one went completely off the rails. Massive tragedy. Dozens Minecrafted. Yeah, we're sticking on the topic. I really do enjoy the settlement system. It's the one thing that I think was done really well in Fallout 4, and even then, obviously, really well is relative in that sense, because there's no Bethesda game out there that doesn't have horrendous bugs that break any specific function, of course. But the settlement system is really the one thing that I was like, okay, I really do like this. So, having sided with the Minutemen, I decided, okay, how would the Minutemen have taken care of the Commonwealth, 9 years afterwards? So I start with, okay, one of the first things they will have done after having defeated the Institute and gone to war with the Brotherhood, which I don't think they should have gone to war with the Brotherhood, but that's kind of just the thing. Like, Preston just shows up and says, I think it's time we do something about the Brotherhood. I'm thinking, when were they your enemies? Excuse me? When were the Brotherhood your enemies? How did that happen? If anything, you guys were fighting the same enemy. What happened there? But that's neither here nor there. after defeating the Brotherhood and defeating the Institute, because that's supposed to be how that works. After doing both of those things, my mindset towards there we go, 45 for right on. Awesome. My mindset is, okay, what are the first things they would have done? The first things that they would have done is they would have scavenged the hell out of anything they possibly could have. They would have scavenged the ruins of the Institute, and they would have absolutely stripped bare Boston Airport and the ruins of any Brotherhood outpost to take as much tech as they possibly could. The Institute scientists who went ahead and escaped and joined over at Kingsport Lighthouse, the Minutemen would have, offered them jobs and been like, hey, look, if you want our protection, if you do want to live at one of our settlements with our protection, we need your scientific expertise for certain things. We need you to help with these things. And it's like, okay, we'll help with those things, because of course they kind of, they don't really have much of a choice, but still, it's it would make more sense. They've been conscripted in. It's a very Operation Paperclip sort of scenario there. This is the way I would take it. This is the way I have taken it with my 9 years later sort of playthrough. The way I've taken it is, okay, Operation Paperclip, we round up any Institute scientists who would like to survive, and we say, okay, if you want our protection, because if you can go it alone, but we're not going to protect you, or if you do want our protection, here's how this works. We need your expertise to help us reverse engineer these things and implement all kinds of scientific advancements that the Institute made across the Commonwealth. Not the synth stuff, because really the only thing the only objectively evil part about the synths was we're going to replace real people. That was the part that really was like, okay, now you're like, you could have made a very interesting argument by saying we have kind of created synthetic life here. And, like, that could be an interesting discussion, but they took it as, and we're using it to replace real people. That's the part that was, okay. Okay, calm down. Maybe don't replace real people. Maybe stop replacing real people. That was the one thing for me. They could have done it well, and then they went and look at how evil we are. And that one just kind of sank it for me. The Minutemen would have absolutely scavenged as much of those resources as possible, and hired the surviving Institute scientists to come and help reverse engineer, as well as essentially head up scientific departments to go ahead and expand scientific knowledge throughout the Commonwealth, whether that was medical, whether that was medical knowledge, engineering, whatever it happened to be, stuff that would actively benefit the progression towards a stable Commonwealth. That would be priority number one. Would be that. Priority number two would be the continued defense and expansion of Minutemen settlements, because Minutemen settlements, the settlements are important, and there are certain ones like the farms, whether it's Finch Farm or what is it, the Warwick farm. There's a few farms out there that's like, okay, you guys are like really, really kind of the breadbasket of the Commonwealth here, and absolutely the main might behind the military, because every military is really only as good as its supply lines can be. Like, as powerful as any military is, if they do not have supply lines, they're screwed. That's just how it is. That's how it's always been throughout history. That's how wars are won or lost, is by supply lines. All right, let's look at Takedown. A reckless full-body charge attack that also hurts the user a little. It's very powerful. However, it also hurts the user a little. It has the same amount of uses as Stomp. You know what? It would be worth it. It would be worth it, because Rock Blast is hilarious. Horn Drill is awesome. And Strength is... I mean, come on, man. Come on. Yeah, okay. We'll take Takedown. We'll take Takedown. That sounds pretty good. So yeah, number one priority would be the recruitment and utilization. The recruitment and, well, I mean, the exploitation, but not in a purely negative sense. The exploitation of the skills and knowledge of surviving Institute scientists who did not want to be caught in the blast and really did not have any major allegiances to the faction. They were just there to do their jobs. Very Operation Paperclip. Very, very Operation Paperclip. That's priority number one. Priority number two is the continued security and the expansion of existing Minutemen settlements. So whether it's the farms, which will get the most, which would get the most security as they are the breadbasket of the Commonwealth, or places like the Starlight Drive-In, which is, I think, other than Spectacle Island, I'm fairly certain Starlight Drive-In has the largest build area of any single settlement, and Starlight Drive-In could become its own city. Starlight Drive-In could become its own small city. Roughly, I mean, realistically, with the playable area that we have for somewhere like Diamond City, we could roughly estimate a settlement the size of Diamond City. We could roughly do that, which would be crazy. You'd have to really maximize the use of space there, but it would be possible, which is what's important. What's important is how possible it would be to do, because if you are able to construct cities, you're kind of on your way towards you're really on your way towards solidifying your control over a region and actually bringing progress back to that space. Except for the modern era, cities have always been a symbol of progress, a symbol of like actual like the platonic ideal of progress. Cities have always been massive boons to societies, except for kind of the modern era, in which case cities kind of become death traps. But that's another discussion in and of itself. So, you know, the expansion, so if number one is Operation Paperclip, number two is the security and expansion of existing settlements and settlement spaces, the creation of cities like Starlight City or whatever. I haven't really come up with a name for it yet. Yeah, I've not really come up with a name for the city yet, but something along the lines of, you know, Starlight City or something. Not Star City and not Starling City, because that would be a different scenario. And then, with the DLCs, with Far Harbor and Nuka World, the expansion of Minutemen control to the greater New England area. The establishment of all the settlements in Nuka World or in Far Harbor would be massive, absolutely massive towards absolutely massive boons towards the establishment of the Minutemen as a power, and what that really all means for the Commonwealth as a whole. That would actually be pretty good. There we go. Come on. Ooh. Ooh, we're close. We're very close. We're very close to level 75 now. Come on. We can do it. Yes, level 75. Awesome. We're just gonna go back and forth here. Nice. So I use this one mod called Minutemen Take Nuka World or something along those lines, where basically as soon as you do the mission to go ahead and choose a raider faction to join, it gives you another option that says, hey, signal the Minutemen and get the Minutemen in on this to come and wreck house. And I've got other mods that create a larger space for me to go in and to actually change up aspects of Nuka World. I always leave that choose a raider faction mission. I always leave that till the very end because I want to do all the other stuff in Nuka World. Make sure I get all the other achievements. Make sure I can gather all the other things. Like I'll get the power armor. I'll get the any of the weapons. I'll do all of that. And then I'll go and say, okay, here's the faction I choose. I choose to destroy all of the factions. And sadly, that means that I lose out on a raider companion, who actually does look kind of cool. But I loot the armor because the outfit actually looks pretty solid. But the Minutemen take Nuka World, and it creates essentially yet another city for the Minutemen to have to hold as a stronghold and to expand their power. And with each of these larger settlements, the smaller ones are going to remain small communities. They're going over the course of 9 years. The Minutemen will have absolutely, especially within the Commonwealth proper, over the course of 9 years, the Minutemen will, without a doubt, have gone ahead and prioritized the defense of their settlements, and will have one of the first things that in my mind will have gone on is after having conscripted the Institute scientists and engineers from the ruins, they will have absolutely gone ahead and one of the first things that those scientists will have advised was, okay, let's, here's how concrete works. Let's go ahead and use concrete, and let's improve the defensive capabilities of each of these settlements. I take a lot of cues from Covenant, from the Covenant settlement for that. Covenant and Sanctuary are the two. Covenant and Sanctuary Hills are the two settlements in the Commonwealth that are like, hey, this is how the old world more or less looked. We're going to use these as blueprints for how we want the rest of the Commonwealth to look after we have an established form of an established system to work with here. This is our goal. Now the Minutemen are still they're not a representative government. They're still basically a continental army, more or less. They're not a representative government at this point. They do run under military leadership. The general of the Minutemen, which is my character, they're kind of the ruler of the Commonwealth, more or less, after you defeat the Brotherhood and defeat the Institute and defeat the Brotherhood, and the Railroad's like, look, we're not against you, but we can't have you continue to associate with us because potentially conflicting motives, and we don't want to have any issues with that. It's still more or less a military dictatorship. All it comes down to is whether or not you're harsh, really, which is not really any better than what the Brotherhood were doing. The only difference is that you're probably not not just an outright dictator about everything. But one of the end goals of my my future plan for the Commonwealth, one of the end goals is, okay, eventually the sole survivor wants to step down and not be, a military dictator for all of this. They knew what the world was like beforehand. They understood the value of things like a representative democracy or, a republic. They understood the values of things like representative government. They understood the values of certain universal rights. They understood the values of being ruled by having the rule of law instead of the rule of power, all that kind of stuff. So eventually, my interpretation of the sole survivor is that one day they want to do that, but they have to kind of make the Commonwealth secure before they can afford to do that. Because if the Commonwealth isn't secure, then how do we recognize your form of government as a legitimate form of government? Wouldn't you kind of just be setting yourself up for failure? If people are still more concerned about where am I going to get my next meal, or when's the next raider attack coming, or how am I going to defend against the super mutants 2 miles down the road, then they're not really concerned about whether or not a representative government is in charge. So you have to take care of the more immediate threats first. Whenever you're trying to build up a government like that. And 9 years down the road, we have not solved the problem. We have my vision of my little interpretation of the Commonwealth at this point is, okay, it's been 9 years. We've done a lot. We've done a lot of good stuff. We have not solved the problems yet. Diamond City is allied with us, but they have yet to actually become a member settlement of the Minutemen. And therefore we don't really have the Minutemen, while they can find sanctuary in Diamond City, they don't have any direct hand in the way that Diamond City is run as of this point. But if the priority list is priority 1, Operation Paperclip all of the remaining Institute scientists, so that we can bring scientific advancements and medical advancements, engineering advancements, all these kinds of things. If we can scavenge the Institute ruins and the Brotherhood ruins, and we can go ahead and use that technology to better the Commonwealth, then that's our number 1 goal. Our number 2 goal is the expansion of Minutemen control to the greater New England area through places like the Nuka World settlements or the Far Harbor settlements. And then number 3 would be to slowly, I guess, modernize is not the proper term, because all these things would be ancient in comparison to all of these things would absolutely be ancient in comparison to the Commonwealth as we sort of jump into it. But modernize the Commonwealth, bring wide-scale amenities bring wide-scale amenities like electricity or running water, toilets, showers, things that we take for granted largely, but that would absolutely be not only world-changing for a post-apocalyptic world, but also life-saving for a post-apocalyptic world. That would be priority number 3. And then probably not priority 4, 5, or 6. Maybe even as far down as priority 10 would be establishing a representative government into the Commonwealth, because it's important, but it's the more immediate threat is raiders, super mutants, disease, famine, all this other kind of stuff. Way down the list of things that the Minutemen should be worried about are things like a representative government. Because what you need to do first is you need to make sure that people's basic necessities are taken care of. In an apocalyptic scenario where you're trying to invent a country, when you're trying to essentially create a brand new country, you first need to make sure that you can protect your citizenry and you can provide basic necessities for them. That doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that, you know, that Big Brother steps in and decides what's good for you. No. What it means is that you have a reasonable assumption of security within the borders of this government. You have the reasonable assumption of security within the borders of that government. That is the number one. Like that's the top 5 things for the Minutemen in my playthrough, in my sort of, okay, what would they do 9 years after the events of the story? How would that look? It would like the first thing you have to nail down. The first thing you have to nail down is the first 5 things really do come down to, is the Commonwealth relatively safe? And if yes, then you can worry about, okay, what does the government look like? What are the rules of law? All this other kind of stuff. Do we, like, what kind, do we accept foreign trade with groups like the NCR? If so, if we do, what does that look like? Do we have immigration policies? You know, all kinds of like when you, if you're worried about immigration policies in the post-apocalypse, you're not worrying about the right kinds of things. You're really not. You're really not. Do we allow synths? Gen 3 synths? Do we force them to go ahead and register as Gen 3 synths? Do we even necessarily pay attention to that kind of stuff? Do we allow non-feral ghouls into our settlements? If so, how and why? Are we concerned that they're going to turn feral? All this kind of stuff. Now, in Fallout 4, it's not really discussed whether or not non-feral ghouls that just happen to be essentially 210-year-old people who came to the future the hard way. It's not really discussed whether or not they can turn feral, where it's kind of assumed in Fallouts 1 through New Vegas that it's possible for them to turn feral. It's not really discussed at all in Fallout 4, so you have to assume, yeah, that they could. The likelihood of them doing so is not very high, but they certainly could, and that could be a fear. That could be a concern. Also, if your settlements are going to accept ghouls, do you have a way of dealing with the ambient radiation? Are they getting treatment for this kind of stuff? Like all sorts of different questions regarding this kind of stuff. What's the Minutemen's policy with dealing with raiders? Obviously, it's, you know, no tolerance for violent attacks from raiders. But are you going to make treaties with them? Are you going to say, hey, if you guys want to live by, if you guys are willing to live by our rules, if you guys are willing to remain not hostile towards our settlements and are essentially willing to work alongside us, is there amnesty there? Is there going to be is there essentially like is there a grace period that, okay, you have X number of days to either leave or to turn over all of your armaments to the Minutemen and to essentially go through some kind of retraining. I don't know. I'm kind of processing all of these ideas as I'm going through them. Because right now I'm at the part of, okay, well, I'm going to each of the settlements. I'm deciding what aesthetically, how would the settlement look? How do I merge that with the defensive needs of each settlement? And what's their major imports and exports from the region? All kinds of stuff. I'm going through all the city planning stuff that I probably should have gone to school for, but I thought that sleep was a better idea than going to school for that kind of stuff. All right, Rhydon is level 50. Look at that. We are 2 hours in. We still have a full hour here, ladies and gentlemen. We still have a full hour here. Rhydon is level 50. So, I was going to do the voice, but my throat's not doing well. We could either level up 1 or 2 members of our party to level 60, or we go ahead and get Dratini and get him to Dragonair or Dragonite. I think I'm gonna do that instead, because it'd be really nice to be able to walk up to the Elite Four and say, "You're not the only one who's got a Dragonite. Look at what I have." That would be fun. That'd be very fun. Okay. Let's see here. So I think for the moment, we're going to have to... Oh, well, obviously we're going to take the item. We're going to go ahead and take the item, because the XP share is very important. I think for the moment, we're going to have to leave Pikachu in the box, which I don't like having to say, because Pikachu's great, but we're going to have to leave Pikachu in the box. That's just how it's going to go. Okay. And we're going to pull out Dratini. That's level 25 Dratini. Is that the highest level Dratini we have? Yes, it is. Level 25 Dratini is the highest level Dratini. Okay. Okay, so let's work on Dratini to Dragonair, and then maybe Dragonite if we're really lucky. Probably not, you know, if we're lucky. If we're lucky. Okay, and in case I accidentally exit out, I'm gonna save here, because it took us 2 hours it took us 2 hours using the fast forward function to get Rhydon, yeah, Rhydon now, because he's no longer Rhyhorn. Rhydon and Raticate to level 50. Because 2 hours, and I'm not dropping back on that. So, oh man, where was I? Where was I? What? Where did I leave off? I guess... So, yeah, let me go back to it. Priorities 1 through 3 for the Minutemen of the Commonwealth, as essentially the de facto government of the Commonwealth. What's their top 3 priorities are Operation Paperclip, number 1. Number 2 is the continued security and expansion of existing settlements, as well as expansion into number 3 was expansion into the greater New England area through Nuka World and Far Harbor. And then number 4 is the introduction of amenities like running water, or electricity as the standard for the region, as well as establishing a centralized government, not necessarily a representative form of government, but a recognized centralized government of the Commonwealth of Boston, as the Commonwealth and the greater New England area, establishing a recognized central governmental body that goes sort of hand in hand with amenities and the amenities and everything else. So that would be, you know, number 4 or number 5 at that point. And then way down the line is reforming that centralized government into a representative government like a republic. Which a republic makes more sense than a democracy, because a democracy assumes that everybody has a direct hand in every single thing that goes on, which simply, again, you run into the question of, is this the kind of thing that every individual citizen of the Commonwealth is worried about? No. Every individual citizen of the Commonwealth is worried about the safety and security of themselves and their family, where they're getting their food and water from, and where they're getting their protection from. Represent a structure like a republic simply makes more sense than a democracy for you know, a post-apocalyptic world like the Commonwealth would be. It just makes more sense for the citizens of the Commonwealth. And it's more manageable than a military dictatorship or a monarchy would necessarily be for a region like that. Now, it'd be cool it'd be cool to kind of go, you know, to go medieval core on it. On some of this stuff. It'd be cool to do. It just wouldn't be very feasible. Would not be very feasible. Oh, that's right. We are out of those. All right, come on. Nice. We're basically becoming a big tank here, which is really, really awesome for Charizard. And one of my big problems with the settlement building right now is that I'm going around to each of the settlements, and when I'm making the defensive improvements to each of the settlements, it comes down to, well, I'm kind of just building a big box wall around the whole settlement at this point. Which, I mean, you kind of need to. To be fair, you do kind of need to do this because they need to be defended from all sides. But at the other hand, it's like, it's not the most aesthetically pleasing thing in the world, you know? Ooh. Okay, Dratini wants to learn Slam? Yes. We will absolutely replace Leer. His Thunder Wave could be quite useful. Depending on what else we learn. But yeah, Slam, nice. Good job, Dratini. Oh, no way. Alright, well, I guess we go and heal. Never expected to get down to 27. I wiped out 90% of my health. Wow, okay. Props. There we go, level 77. That's nice. That's nice. It's very nice. But yeah, the aesthetic is one thing I'm really trying to nail down, because I don't want every single settlement to look like a carbon copy of each other. But at the same time, if the sole survivor is trying to create a semblance of what was good about the old world for this post-apocalyptic wasteland, this new world. He's trying to bring the best of the old world into the new. A lot of that is going to come down to many of the aesthetic things, many of the amenities, many of the a lot of the minutia of life as someone in the old world. You know, you're going to have, you know, houses are going to look a certain way. They're not necessarily going to be, you know, not all the houses are going to look like houses in Sanctuary, thank God, because the houses in Sanctuary should be unique. I take a lot of cues from the way that the Covenant settlement does things, because the materials for a house like you would see in Covenant are more readily available than the materials for a house in, say, Sanctuary. You're not going to have a lot of large prefab structures that you can just immediately make. Carbon copy prefab structures like you would have in like you would have in Sanctuary, that have been well maintained and repaired. You're going to have brick. You're going to have brick. You're going to have wood. You're going to have some older looking houses, but they're going to be, you can maintain those kinds of houses significantly more easily. So that's more the aesthetic I'm going for. If the extreme ends of, if the two extremes are Sanctuary and Covenant, we're definitely leaning more towards Covenant than we are Sanctuary with a lot of the aesthetics. I'm making sure that each of the settlements also, hey, look at that, we got him. We got Dragonair. That's awesome. Yay, he evolved. What level is he? Level 30. That's nice. That's really, really nice. All right, 20 more levels, and we've got the time. We can do it. We can totally do it. But yeah, one of the big pushes, one of the things that would make it, that would be a really solid bargaining chip for settlements to go ahead and align themselves with the Minutemen is we can provide this way. We can provide a certain way of life. We can provide a certain sense of security, a certain sense of normalcy to you that you cannot get otherwise. Without us, you are going to constantly be concerned about raiders or super mutants or feral ghouls or a plague or drought or famine. With us, we will be able to guarantee protection against, and then a long list of massive concerns, as well as a way of life that resembles the old world in these ways. That would be, like, man, as a bargaining chip in any post-apocalyptic scenario, that would be a massive draw. Would be a massive draw. I'm trying to think. There was what was the place called in The Walking Dead? What was it called? Was it called Eden? TWD Eden? No, it was. Oh, was it actually called Sanctuary? Yeah, okay, I guess it was called the... No, that wasn't it. That's not what I'm thinking. Although that would... I mean, again, if you can provide safety, security, and a way of life to a people that are without any of those things, that's kind of a big bonus. Kind of a big plus. Where was it? It was... No, I wasn't thinking that, but that one also works. It would be, it'd be like how The Walking Dead had Alexandria, like how The Walking Dead had essentially the safe town of Alexandria in a very similar way. That's one of the most enticing things to any post-apocalyptic people. If you can give them a semblance of normalcy and a return to tradition and security, you've won half the battle already. Then it just comes down to the minutia of the terms themselves. Okay, like what do I have to do in return? What kinds of jobs will be available? How will you be able to provide for my family and for my children? All that kind of stuff. The minutia of bargaining here and there. My plans for Bunker Hill, which I still have to go ahead and renovate, and I haven't done because it's a little bit intimidating renovating Bunker Hill. My plans for Bunker Hill have it being, if not the eventual seat of power for the Commonwealth, it is for sure the trade hub. As it is, as Bunker Hill is supposed to be a massive crossroads for the different traders and caravans in the game already, it becomes the commercial powerhouse of the Commonwealth for sure. Absolutely. My plan is for it to become the commercial powerhouse of the Commonwealth and be the center of commerce. If you're anyone who's anyone in the world of trade and the caravans in the Commonwealth, you either have contacts in or are based in Bunker Hill. That's the big plan for me regarding this kind of stuff. Still got to go ahead and actually put it into practice, but that's my plan. I've got one mod that expands the build area of Hangman's Alley into an impressively sized space that allows me to create again a small town, not too far from Good Neighbor, not too far from Bunker Hill. Nice little place there that allows me to create yet another small town that's like, hey, here's a sense of normalcy. We've got some more security here. Little checkpoints along the way. If you're traveling east to west through the Commonwealth, you can stop at these little points. You can stop at a Good Neighbor, a Minutemen aligned Good Neighbor. You can stop at a Bunker Hill. You can stop at a Hangman's Alley. You can stop at a Diamond City. All these kinds of things, and they are within a day's travel of each other, making them very safe. In the larger scheme of things, making them significantly safer for travel to actually take place, for the expansion of the Minutemen across the Commonwealth and the Greater New England area to actually take place. Now, the castle is going to remain the military headquarters. Obviously, the military headquarters of the Minutemen, and be really the great military power of the Commonwealth as a whole. One of the first mods I download every time I do a new save of Fallout 4, if I'm siding with the Minutemen, one of the first things I do is I download a mod to restore the walls of the castle, because dear God, it looks terrible trying to build walls around that thing. It looks horrible trying to build walls around that thing. So that's how I do. That's how I do that. Let me see here. Summary. Yeah, you're out. Okay. Let's go and get him going. Awesome. Nice. Good job, Dragonair. We should be able to get into Dragonite before level 50. Or maybe at level 50. I don't know. It'll be cool, nonetheless. Oh man, I feel like I was just on a big point about the Minutemen. Yeah, sorry, the castle. Yes. One of the first mods I download is one that just automatically fixes the castle walls and cleans up some of the castle space so that there's it's a continuous flat space that I can build on. I can build the barracks. I can build the commissary. Like, I've got a whole system built up. I've got the commissary. I've got the barracks, which actually I designed them off of 18th century barracks, because it would have been about the time that the castle would have been constructed, would have been about the 18th, 19th century. So the barracks are very reminiscent of that. They've got all the same amenities. Centralized command structure. I did install, I forget who the mod creator was. I installed the General's Quarters mod, which I mean, it's a classic. It's a classic. It looks great. It's extremely well detailed. It's wonderful. One of the things I do need to do when I go back to the castle eventually is I need to go and use OC Decorator to go in and make all of the different living spaces feel unique, feel actually lived in. Like, it doesn't just feel like this is a set piece. It feels like, oh yeah, there's there's clearly somebody that lives here. Look at all these individual little bits. Like, look at all the like, it's one thing to be like, well, of course somebody lives here. Can't you see there is kitchen, there is sitting area, there is room to bed? Like, yeah, there's the well, a house has to have all of these things for it to be considered a home instead of just a house. But then there's the minutia. There's the, this person is interested in, this person likes to read comics, or this person, they smoke cigars. They don't smoke cigarettes. They smoke cigars instead. Or, this person's got a pretty impressive collection of different, this one's got a very impressive bobblehead collection, or whatever. Like the minutia that makes it all feel unique and individual. The minutia that makes it feel like, okay, each of these individual NPCs is their own entity. It's that I have to bring back into this. I have to go back and I have to go ahead and decorate each of these spaces, and that really slows down the process. Really slows down the process when it comes to working on all these things. Level 78. Awesome. But yeah, absolutely slows down the process when it comes to absolutely slows down the process when it comes to decorating each of these settlement spaces, because there's one thing to make sure, okay, well, all the houses have this kind of structure and these are what the beds look like and all that, but then, okay, well, what about the nightstand? What does the nightstand of this individual person who sleeps here look like? You have to create a personality for them. You have to create a history that isn't necessarily written for you. I like to do this stuff. It's part of why I'm writing a document for basically a tabletop world setting. It's why I'm why I'm writing Nightlife and Noctis, is because I enjoy telling these kinds of stories. I like giving that kind of depth to a world space. And maybe I'll write a novel one day. I don't know. Maybe. It'd probably be a little bit more efficient than what I'm doing. Probably be a little bit more efficient than how I'm going about it, is if I'm gonna write a novel, and then people ask me questions, I can give them the answer that way. No, it wouldn't be very me to not have a detailed backstory to each of my little characters. Would not be very me to not have a detailed backstory to Ububwevwe Osas, the bartender and proprietor of the Even Chainmail on South Channel Island in Noctis City. Like, if I didn't have the specific minutia of what a character of a character's backstory like that, then it wouldn't be very me. And I can't do that for everybody, but I can at least give a solid list, But especially in something like, with mods available like OC Decorator, they just bring more life to each of the settlements. And so it's definitely draining to have to go in and, okay, I'm making my 302nd kitchen, and I'm revising it for the 8th time, and this time I'm placing the bread box on the left side of the counter instead of the right. And it's like, well, why would you do that? It's because in the other houses it's on the right side, and I want it to not look all carbon copy and all. Like, it can get tiring. It can absolutely get tiring. However, it's what makes it feel unique and lived in, and actually gives it a sense of life. It actually gives it a sense of life. It's all these little bits. There's a great term. It was used by Richard Donner when making the Superman movies in the 70s. And it has also been popularized on YouTube when talking about film as a whole. It is the sense of verisimilitude. It's a very big word, but what the word means is everything, regardless of how fantastical or how outlandish the setting or the story is, everything makes sense and fits together. Verisimilitude. Not only do the characters in the story and the writing of the story treat everything with a level of sincerity and seriousness, but also Everything in the story feels like it has a place. Everything from the set dressing to the clothes on the characters to the lighting to the color grading, everything feels like it belongs there for a reason. There's a lot of great movies that do this. The Lord of the Rings trilogy especially does this. The first two Superman movies from the 70s and early 80s with Christopher Reeves, they're great at doing this. Richard Donner wasn't involved in Superman 3 and 4, sadly, but that's what happens. The Matt Reeves Batman movie absolutely has a sense of verisimilitude. Everything feels like it belongs in this space. There's a grunge to it. There's a grit to it. There's a sense of realism that, in a very different way from the Christopher Nolan realism, it feels equally like it feels equally. Hold on. All right, I can answer that question later. Sorry. There's a sense of. Sorry, I completely jumped off of the train of thought right there because I got a Discord message about something. But every individual piece adds, like, it's a story in and of itself. You know, you walk into Hobbiton, into the Shire, in Lord of the Rings. You know, you get Bilbo Baggins' entire bit about concerning hobbits throughout the first, after you get through the prologue of this is the world, this is what happened, this is the big evil, and just you go from that the massive stakes down to just the simplest, most comfortable and safe and happy people in all of Middle Earth, the hobbits of the Shire, and just you see the way of life. Every little bit matters. Every little aspect of design is important there. Everything about it fits. Even the car that wasn't actually supposed to show up in scene and is you can see in the background, you're like, oh yeah, you know what, that could be there. Wait, hold on, that was a car? Wait, you're right, that shouldn't be there. But like everything else, it all just comes together. You can, if you you could zoom in, you could take any frame from Hobbiton, from an interior or exterior shot of the Shire. You could zoom in and say, okay, each of these individual aspects were handcrafted. It has an intentional feel. Nothing in this shot nothing in this shot is by mistake. Everything is here for a reason. That's the detail that should be. It should be the goal of every storyteller, to make every single detail count. No detail should be there without reason. No matter whether or not your audience thinks that you drone on too long about the, about why, the specific intricacies of the water traders of the hub. Like, okay, that could be boring to some people. Or I'll use the example of the politics in the prequels. That could have been done very well. It could have been a particularly detailed political story about the downfall of the Republic and the rise of the Empire. That's not what we got. Whether or not you like the prequels, I'm not saying you can't. I'm not saying I don't. I'm saying, regardless of that, what could have been done is you could have hyper focused into each of these things and made it interesting. What we got in the case of the prequel films was you got the broad aesthetics of this is a war that has economic reasons for the war happening, or socioeconomic and political reasons for the war happening, but realistically we're kind of just going to give you a half-baked story and competent but not particularly special effects until Revenge of the Sith. The opening shot of Revenge of the Sith is really just George Lucas saying, "Oh, you thought the other two movies looked bad? Okay, well, here's what I can really do. Here's actually what here's what I've been working up towards this whole time." I get I'm getting into the weeds of all this stuff. the real time waster for me. Well, it feels like a time waster sometimes. The real difficulty for me with building all these settlements up in the Commonwealth is I can't just make them all look boring and simple and, cookie cutter. They have to feel unique. No, I do not want agility. Agility has a use, but in the end, it's not going to be important for the Elite Four. If it all looks cookie cutter, then I can't have Finch Farm look the exact same as the Warwick Homestead, and I can't have Sanctuary look the exact same as as Grey Garden or something. Like that wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't make sense for the landscape. It wouldn't make sense for the surroundings, for their specific environmental challenges, for their challenges with raiders or super mutants or ghouls or whatever their challenge happens to be. It wouldn't make sense if they all look cookie cutter. And that's one of the things I'm really struggling with when it comes to building up the defenses. Because right now, I'm stuck in a mindset of, well, I'm going to build a big concrete box and put laser turrets up there because that's objectively the most defensible way to do this. And it would make sense that one of the first things that the Minutemen do with the assistance of their paper-clipped institute scientists is they secure the existing settlements, the existing Minutemen settlements around the Commonwealth. And a large part of that would be, hey, this is how you create concrete. This is how concrete works. Here's the mechanics. Here's the science behind it. Here's the actual engineering behind how you want to use concrete, because concrete is one of the greatest civil inventions of all time. One of the greatest civil inventions of all time. It absolutely revolutionized the way that the way that we build things, whether it's roads or public works or houses or anything. Concrete is one of the greatest inventions, and we never really think about it because we exist in a world where it's already a thing. We don't have to think about it at all. We exist in a post-concrete world where we don't have to worry about whether or not concrete's going to whether or not concrete's going to be there tomorrow in order to patch up a road or build a house or whatever. The assumption is that it's going to exist when, again, if we're going through the lens of this is a post-apocalyptic world that over the course of 200 years has only devolved, which isn't a great premise, but if that's the premise we're going with, then you have to assume one of the best things that you could do for them is introduce the miracle that is concrete to the Commonwealth and all of its amazing practical uses, especially defenses. But it makes it boring to look at a big concrete box around your settlement wall, around your settlement build, and have a bunch of, heavy laser turrets placed here and there. It just gets boring. I have to try and make it not boring. Because some settlements, they're just too small, and it's just like, that doesn't make sense. Why would you do walls like this around a settlement like this? Like, My personal player home is not Sanctuary. It's Croup Manor, because I got a mod that went ahead and cleaned up Croup Manor and actually rebuilt it so that it actually looks more or less the way it should. Like, there's wear and tear, obviously. There's paint chipping from the walls. There's all kinds of wear and tear, but the structure is sound. The rooms are actually stable, and the basement is its own separate settlement space that I can go in and build things in, which is great. I love a good basement. I do enjoy a good basement. I'm currently hanging out in a basement right now, streaming this. Basements are awesome. If you've got a use for them. But for my player home, obviously it's the one place I'm not gonna have. I'll keep my companions there. I've got enough space for all my companions to live there, but I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go and all of a sudden, I'm not going to decide, okay, well, I'm going to have 20 settlers show up here. No, it's a player home, but it's got all of the necessities I need. And for a player home, it would make sense that you have set up defenses like level 39 already. We're doing real good. been real good. Hopefully we can hit 50 by the end of the stream. That'd be really nice. And then on Monday we can come in and just wipe the floor with the Elite Four. That wasn't meant to rhyme, but it did. Look at that. For a player home, it makes sense. Okay, I don't want my companions to get their crap kicked in when I'm not with them, so I'm going to make sure that my player home has the defenses necessary. Or a place like the castle, it makes sense that you would build a bunch of turrets around the castle walls because it's called the castle. I mean, come on. How much more blatant can it get? It's called the castle. You're gonna build castle walls around it. That's how it works. You're gonna build you're gonna have castle walls, and you're gonna build defenses along those walls. That's why it works. It's why it's a castle. A castle is a castle because it operates like a castle does. And technically it's not a castle. It's a fortress. Never mind. It doesn't matter. Point is it makes sense for certain places to have massive concrete walls and a bunch of laser turrets defending it because, well, it makes sense. Like they're necessarily defensible. But if every single settlement did that, it would look rather boring. However, I kind of have to do that at every single settlement because otherwise the raiders are going to get in, or the super mutants are going to get in, or the feral ghouls are going to get in, and they're going to ruin my settlers' days because my settlers, God bless them, they're not great at defending themselves. They're really not. They're kind of terrible, which, of course, it's like, how did you survive this long in the Commonwealth if you're terrible at defending yourself? How did you survive against them this long? Did you just, like, stay out of their way? Okay. Let's be realistic here. You're a little bit more capable than you give yourself credit for. But apparently not. And I want to be able to rely on each of the settlements to handle themselves, so I don't have to go around and, oh, another settlement needs your help. Another settlement needs your... Like, no. You can take care of yourselves. You're clearly capable enough to handle this. You don't need me for this. And you know what? As a show of faith, here's some laser turrets to help you defend yourselves, so I don't have to come calling every single time you say something. And the in-universe explanation is, this is what we can provide your settlement. We can provide your settlement with concrete walls, with laser turret defenses, with a guaranteed level of security, completely unprecedented thus far in your circles, within your community. We can provide you a level of security you have never seen before. Join us. All we ask is your loyalty, and we ask, whatever, X percentage of your crop, or, taxation thing, or whatever it happens to come down to, the minutia of it. In universe, it would make sense that what you would mass produce would be this. The Romans did this. The Romans had a specific thing that they would do. Every time that they conquered a region, one of the most important things that they would do is that they would provide certain civil amenities to all of the major settlements around their new territory. Now I was fortunate enough to be able to take a trip to Israel at the beginning of summer this last year, before everything erupted over there. And I was able to see I was able to check out the ruins of the Roman the first century ruins of Bet Shean, which was a Roman settlement. Well, it became a Roman settlement, and they took on many of the aspects of a traditional Roman settlement. The settlement the settlement of Bet Shean had been there for ages, but when the Romans came in, they're like, okay, here's what we're providing you. We're providing you with concrete for streets. Concrete and cement for streets. We're providing you with certain public amenities like bathhouses, or trade halls, basilicas. before they became a Christian thing. We'll provide you with concrete for roads. We'll provide you with public buildings like basilicas or bathhouses. We'll provide you with amenities like amphitheaters or hippodromes for chariot races, or all this kind of stuff. Now, Bet Shean became became a rather large settlement for being in the middle of essentially the Judean wilderness in the 1st century. And a lot of the reason, as like you can actively go ahead and see many of the benefits of being a subject of Rome. And then, of course, Rome also had the larger concept of bread and circuses. A subjugated people are more likely to be happy to be subjugated if you can provide them amenities that take their mind off of the fact that they are now a subjugated people. If you can keep them happy and fed, so if you can provide bread and circuses, entertainment to take their mind off of their day, and food security, so that they don't have to think about, if you can provide those two things, they're not as concerned about who's in charge. They're more concerned about, okay, well, I'm well fed and I can relax at the end of the day, so I'm good. I don't really care who's in charge. It is one of the most important socio-political concepts. It is still used everywhere in the world today. One of the reasons why things like movie theaters were so important in the 20th century is because, well, the Great Depression hit, but the concept of the Nickelodeon film, as in a movie that a dinner and a show that you could get for the cost of a nickel, which was popcorn and a movie. It was dinner and a show for the cost of a nickel. That is a massive weight off of the minds of everybody who lived in the Great Depression. Are you kidding me? Movies were the great escape. The escapist fiction was extremely important at this time. If you can provide entertainment and food security, you basically you've won the hearts and minds of most people you'll run into. So taking that concept and putting it into my version, this is sounding like a doctoral dissertation, really. Like I need to get checked. I really need to get checked for something here. But if you can take the concept of bread and circuses and put it into a post-apocalyptic world setting like the universe of Fallout, then there's no good reason for the people you're advertising that to. There's no good reason for them to say, well, we don't like you, so we're just not going to go along with it. It would make no sense whatsoever. Make no sense whatsoever. If you can provide food security, entertainment, and relative economic stability, you've basically won. You've basically won. All that comes down to now is, okay, there will be some groups like Raiders who think that the strongest should rule. And you just have to be stronger than them, and you'll get your point across. And there will be groups like, there will be groups of feral ghouls or super mutants that simply can't be reasoned with and want your complete destruction, or are basically animalistic and can't comprehend higher thought. So, well, okay, you have to wipe some of them out. It sucks, but that's kind of the case. Super mutants want to eat you, and feral ghouls do not have higher brain function, so they can't really reason. They can't really decide whether or not they want to live in a more structured society, or if they want to live in their own crap. They can't make that decision, so you have to take the decision away from them. We're level 80. Okay. We're definitely secure. Level 80, we are definitely secure for the Elite Four fight. That'll be nice. Be really nice. 234 HP. Oh, okay. Ooh, and level 42 for Dragonair. We're doing great. We're doing great, folks. Doing absolutely fantastic today. Man, what am I even gonna title this this VOD? Is it gonna be another one of do not watch? You are wasting your time? I don't know. I mean, I'm very interested in what I'm talking about, so I hope at least that was worth it. Because we've had a stream or two where it's just like, man, what was the point of streaming that? How much time did I waste? But yeah, so taking that in, I'm working under the mindset of, okay, the Minutemen are trying to provide these amenities and we're trying to provide these needs on Maslow's hierarchy. We're trying to provide these basic needs for people. If we're trying to provide these basic needs, that means that in implementing that, the buildings are going to look like the settlement boundaries are probably going to end up looking boring. But are they going to be safe? Are they going to be functional? And will it make sense in universe? If I can answer yes to all of those without, without stretching too far the definition of what I'm trying to say, if I can answer yes to all those, then I have to kind of get over the thing that, okay, well, aesthetically, I'd prefer that all of the walls weren't concrete, weren't giant concrete walls that have barbed wire at the top. Because if that is the kind of thing that would appeal to... If that's the kind of thing that would appeal to the people living in the Commonwealth, and it would, it's a level of safety and security they would likely not have been able to experience. If that's the case, then I don't have a reason to take that away from them. I don't have a reason to... I've got no reason to come by and say, well, I'm not going to do it because it doesn't look as good as it could. I know, you're providing one of the most important things you possibly could to a people in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. You're providing them safety and security and a certain way of life. You're doing the right thing. It doesn't have to look good. Doesn't have to look good at all. Okay, level 43 Dragonair. Awesome. Nice. Perfect. Okay. Let's go ahead and heal up. There we go. It's gonna be weird for me going back to this game on regular speed now. That's gonna be very weird. 3 hours of, well, almost 3 hours. 2 hours and 45 minutes of playing it on super speed. It's gonna be very weird going back. As long as I get Dragonair to level 50. And maybe evolve him into Dragonite. I don't know. I don't know if level 50 will be enough. It'd be nice. But realistically, it probably won't be enough. But yeah, I would like to turn it into maybe an edited series on the CN Games channel, maybe a live stream series where I go through and say, okay, this is each of my settlements. Here's what it looks like. Here's the story I'm trying to tell here. Finch Farm being a completely different story and a completely different aesthetic. Despite the walls, completely different story and aesthetic than somewhere like is it the Bog or the Slog? I think it's the Slog. The Ghoul Settlement, the really cool looking Ghoul Settlement, which would be different from my player home of Croup Manor, which would be different from the castle, which would be different from Spectacle Island, which is a whole other, like, oh man, if I can build out Spectacle Island and make Spectacle Island look like essentially well, not a city on a hill, a city out in the ocean, but a shining city on a hill, then that alone means that you've basically won over the people of the Commonwealth. Maybe that should be the seat of power for the Commonwealth, because it is the largest build space. It just is the largest build space out there. But it would be crazy. You know, I think it could be a good series. If I could figure out the format I want to go with, I could make probably endless content on, well, look, this is my character going through, and this is their settlement this many years through, this many years on, or whatever. One of the mods I installed, of course, was a Batman mod, because it's me. Everybody knows this. It is me. I played it. The first thing I streamed on this Kick channel was every single Arkham game. All right. I think it's safe to say I'm a pretty big Batman fan. I'm sure a lot of people probably know that by now. If you can recognize what this background is here, then yeah, you've got all the information you need. But yeah, so one of the first things I did, of course, was I installed a Batman mod, a mod that I had been looking for years. It used to exist, and then it was taken down for some copywriting issues, and then someone got the express permission of Warner Brothers to use the game files from Injustice 2 and upload those game files as a mod for this game. They got the express permission to do it in there, and it's finally back. I'm very happy. It's the Nightmare outfit from Batman v Superman. As much as I don't like the concept of Nightmare Batman, K-N-I-G-H-T, instead of, because he's the Dark Knight, it's very clever. As much as I don't like the concept of Nightmare Batman in a DC world setting, it works for a post-apocalyptic world like Fallout to have, like, oh yeah, you know who else exists here? Post-apocalyptic Batman, all this kind of stuff. One of the first mods I installed was that. There's a few first mods that I install almost every single time, and the Batman one is regardless of the faction that I go with. I install that one because it's just really cool, and I can come up with different with a different set of logic for essentially each of the choices that Batman would make in a scenario like that. So that's neither here nor there. I could make it a YouTube series being like, okay, the General of the Minutemen, the sole survivor of Vault 111, they have, this is what they did with Sanctuary. This is what their Croup Manor looks like. This is what their version of the castle looks like. I could go in and tell the individual stories of, this is why this functions this way. Here's how it fits into the larger whole of the Commonwealth 9 years, 10 years down the line, whatever it happens to be, depending on how long it takes me to finish this up. All that kind of stuff. I could do it. I just don't know what format it would work best in. Would it work best as an edited format? Would it work best as a live format? Could it be a little bit of both? Could I make highlights out of it? I don't know. I don't know. And that's kind of my big concern right there is I could make it into content. Would it fit with the content that I'm making? Would it fit with my overall content, my overall, like, the overall thrust of most of my content? Could I do it, and would there be an audience that would want to see that from me? Those are the questions. Those are the important questions that every creator really has to ask when they go to make something. Any content creator at the very least. Can I make it unique, and would my audience be interested in this thing? That's the two things that you have to really think about. And I think I could do it. I just need to figure out what the format would be. That's really my big thing, is I just need to figure out what the format would be. Uh-oh. Oh no. Hello? Oh no. Did our stream connection drop? Are we back? We're back. Okay, good. Apologies there. I don't know what happened to the stream connection, but we're good. We're here. We're still doing the same thing. There will be no dropped connection on the VOD. So if you want to go and watch the whole VOD, you want to go and watch this entire thing uninterrupted, you can go ahead and watch the VOD. The VOD will have everything taken care of. We're sitting at about 9 minutes left. We're probably not going to get Dragonair to 50 by 3 hours. I've got a little bit of extra time today. I could go a little bit longer than 3 hours. I did not need to double heal there. I could go a little bit longer than 3 hours, but I don't want this VOD to take 4 years to 4 years to upload when we're all done with it. But man, I was on a roll. I was really on a roll there. What I was saying is, because I don't know where it cut out. What I was saying was that I definitely could do this as a YouTube series surrounding my version of the Commonwealth 9, 10, however many years after the events of Fallout 4 and the accompanying DLC. What would I do with it? How would that work? Hell, I've even got ideas for the Mechanist's Lair. You can turn the Mechanist's Lair into this massive, you can turn it into this massive, like, there's a mod out there that significantly expands the build space for the Mechanist's settlement. And what I could do is I could just make a bunch of robots that would act as essentially like a manufacturing plant or something, like whether it's an ammunition manufacturing plant or, you know, the mass production of resources like steel or you know, any of the valuable resources that need to be manufactured in order to be utilized. I could do that. I could figure out an in-game reason for why we would need to do that, or at least how it would all work. I could do it. Would I necessarily have an audience who wants all of that? Maybe not. I don't know. That's the one thing is, for the question for me is no longer, is it something I could do? Would I have enough material to work with? Could I create a good story with it? It's, would I have an audience that wants that kind of story? And really, I can't answer that question. You guys have to answer that question. If you're live, go ahead and let me know what you think about all the stuff I've been yapping on about for 3 hours and rambling and sounding like a crazy old man. I definitely need to get tested for things. And if you're on the VOD, if you're watching on the VOD, please leave a comment below. Let me know what your thoughts on all this would be. Let me know what your thoughts on the Fallout settlement series would be. You know, let me know your thoughts about the show. I haven't really had any time to really collect all of my thoughts on this show. I know my general position on it is that I don't think it's great. I don't think that it's the worst thing I've seen, but that doesn't mean that it gets a free pass. But you know, let me know. Let me know in the comments. I'm always interested to hear what you guys have to say. It's entirely possible. I don't think it's likely, but it's entirely possible that I'm misreading the Fallout series, the Fallout show on Amazon. Did I say Netflix earlier? I hope I didn't say Netflix earlier. It's entirely possible that I'm misreading that, and that, hey, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't think that's the case, but it's possible. And I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on it. I'd also love to hear you guys' thoughts on, you know, would you guys like to see a settlement series where I either do settlement builds or settlement tour of all my different settlements in Fallout 4? Because I put a lot of time and effort into them, and I'm still putting a lot of time and effort into them. And it would be a while before anything was actually produced out of it. But if you guys would like to see it, obviously, let me know. I'm always looking for stuff that you guys would be interested in. Always looking for new stuff you guys would be interested in. And actually seeing me produce. Seeing me produce. Or watching that I produce. Oh, man. Yeah, yapping on for 3 hours really does rot your brain. It really rots your brain, and it makes my throat very dry. Makes my throat very dry. Makes my throat extensively dry. Nice. Oh, what was that? Why did I go back there? Okay. Sorry, give me just a little bit. Give me just a little bit to go ahead and just calm down. Give me just a little bit to calm down. I need to go ahead and refocus here. We're getting real close to being done for the night, and hopefully real close to getting Dragonair to level 50. That'd be very nice. It'd be very nice to see. As I said, I can go a little bit longer, maybe about half an hour at the most. But I would like to get Dragonair to level 50 on stream. That way he either evolves into Dragonite, or we are very prepared for, very prepared for tomorrow. Not tomorrow, for Monday's Elite Four battle. Both of those things would be very nice. All right, with all of our moves taken up. There we go. We went ahead and healed, and now we're back. All right. Well, I was worried that these 3 hours I was going to have nothing to say. I was really worried that I'd have nothing to say over the course of 3 hours of me doing this, that it was going to just basically okay, level 47. Level 47. Yeah, I think we could get level 50 in another half an hour. I think we could do that. I was very worried that we'd have nothing. Okay, what does Safeguard do again? It protects the user's party from all status problems. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Articuno had that for a little bit. I think we're good. Dragon Rage is nice. Twister is awesome. I think we're good. I think we're good with safe. But we don't. I don't think we're gonna do Safeguard. Yeah, I was really concerned I was not going to have stuff to talk about for, for 3 whole hours while I was grinding away at this stuff. We didn't even head over to the Safari Zone or anything. It's been doing this for 3 hours. That's how long it takes to get all the guys up. I could have stopped after Ride-On. I could have stopped about, an hour ago after Ride-On. But, nah. I wanted at least a Dragonair, and I would love a Dragonite. '82. Very nice. Very nice. Charizard's gonna be a beast. Absolute beast. All right, come on. Nice. Okay. Yeah, I'm now very mentally exhausted. I'm sure you guys can see it on my face. I'm very mentally exhausted. Oh man, I just spent 3 hours yapping on about Fallout and stories as a whole and the concept of verisimilitude and you know, my very, very unnecessarily in-depth playthrough of Fallout. I should save it for a video essay. I really should. Would do more good that way. Level 48 Dragonair, look at that. All right. Come on, evolve at level 50. You really should evolve at level 50. It would be perfect, you know? It'd be the perfect number to evolve into your max format. The perfect number. I think Charizard did it at what? 40, 45, something like that? I'm trying not to speak too close to the mic. I know it can pick me up back here just fine. But when I get super involved in what I'm saying, when I get super, you know, super emotional or super enthusiastic about what I'm saying, I get real close. And then sometimes my plosives don't always, you know, they don't always register as P's or F's or S's or stuff like that. And that's not great. That's not great. I've done that. I've had that happen in many recordings. And I'm like, damn, I have to go back and record that an entire 2-minute diatribe. You gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me, man. Luckily, it's gotten better. But, you know, it's annoying. It's very annoying. You get hyped up about something, you get super energized, you get very passionate about a topic. And then you just sort of, oh, come on. There we go. Super passionate and energized, and then it's like, oh, the audio's garbage. What happened? People don't want to listen to this. I got to do the whole thing all over again. Okay. Sorry, I was thinking about one of my favorite insults. One of my favorite insults that I've ever heard. One of the best insults that I've ever heard is you have a face for radio and a voice for print. Maybe one of the greatest insults ever invented. Perhaps one of the greatest insults ever invented. Perhaps one of the greatest insults ever invented. You have a face for radio and a voice for print. I love that one. I really do. I don't really have any opportunity to use it because it's so hyper specific. It's one of like the most, it sounds to me at the very least to be one of the most sophisticated ways to cut a person down so hard, and I've just never had the opportunity to use it. But it's one of my favorites. If you are ever in an opportunity where you can tell someone they have a face for radio and a voice for print, use it. Use the opportunity. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I mean, you get that's a 1 in a million opportunity. It's one of the best insults. One of the best insults. And it has so much more punch to it than just like, saying a slur. It has so much more punch than just saying a slur or calling someone, istophobic or some kind of political thing. Nah, it has so much more punch, so much more power to it because you're cutting them down in just the most hyper specific way possible. You're saying you have a horrendous voice. You're one of the ugliest people on planet Earth. You can't speak for shit. Who would pay attention to you? It's so good. It's so good. Level 49 Dragonair. Okay, what's the time? Yeah, we can do it. We can get to level 50 before 3.5 hours. Definitely. 3.5 hours would be a very rough render. It'd be a very rough render period. It'd be doable. It just wouldn't be fun. Thank God it's a Saturday. Thank God I'm not streaming tomorrow because I can afford to stay up late and get it all rendered out. I wouldn't want to, but I could. If I really had to. All right. Come on, just burn them. Ruin their day. Nice. All right. Dragonair's got to be close at this point, right? Got to be very close. Ooh, look at that. Look at that. That's so good. Look at how close we are, man. So close. Only 3,700 XP, almost 3,800 XP to level 50. Oh, we're gonna make it. We're making it out of this one. Nice. Blast burn is so good. I'm detonating a thermonuclear warhead. Ah, so good. Okay, now we go heal. All right, let's get moving. Let's get going. Yeah, I've kind of I've run out of brain power. Yeah, there we go. Level 50. Look at that. I've completely run out of brain power. Okay. Are you going to do it? Are you going to do the thing? Really? Wow. Okay. Well, it's level 50. I wanted a level 50 Dragonair. That's what we needed. We need a level 50 Dragonair. I will go ahead and spend the extra time on my own time to go ahead and get him evolved into Dragonite before we do the Elite Four. So I'll take care of that over the weekend, or over tonight and tomorrow into Sunday. I will go ahead and take care of that. What was this? I'll look at that later. Someone sent me a game trailer on Discord that said, "Ooh, may contain content inappropriate for children." I'm not about to play that on stream. Not about to play that on stream. I've got absolutely no clue if my audio would save me or not, so I won't worry about it. Anyway, thank you all so much for joining me. I don't know if you cared about all 3 hours and 11 minutes of me yapping. But I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun today. I got to talk about a lot of stuff that may sound stupid, which I wouldn't necessarily disagree with. But it all matters to me in one way or another, and it's nice to have a place to go ahead and be able to talk about all these things. If you end up, skipping this VOD, it wouldn't surprise me. those of you here at the end wouldn't have skipped it, so thank you. But if you had skipped it, that would not have surprised me at all. This is not not a particularly structured VOD, not a particularly great piece of content today. Well, it's not a very on-topic piece of content. I think we've done a lot today. I've enjoyed the conversation I've been able to have with you, and I hope you've enjoyed that conversation as well. Maybe I could do more conversational content. I don't know. Really, conversational content requires an audience that wants to have a conversation, so it's really more of a live thing than anything, and that requires, a more robust, more active chat, all that kind of stuff. But I'm still happy to, go ahead and explain my ideas or my concepts and stuff like that. Very happy to do it. I don't have many platforms that I can go ahead and do that on. So it's very nice. I guess what I'm trying to say is thank you all so much for watching. It means a ton that you would watch any of this, let alone all of this. We've been doing this for quite a while. We're coming in real close to 100. Really close to 100. It's crazy. It's crazy how close we are right now. We've got, well, whatever the number is, whatever the number shows on the YouTube channel, -10 is where we currently are, but we're very, very close. We're very close. We've got maybe a week of streams left before we hit 100, and we're gonna have to do something special for the 100th stream. I don't know what it's gonna be. We're gonna have to do something special. I'll figure it out. It'll be nice. But thank you once again. I can't say it enough. Thank you all so much for watching. It means a ton to me that you would do that. If you did have to jump out, or if you had weird internet connection issues, or if for some reason the stream dropped for a couple seconds there and that was annoying, I'm very sorry about that. But if you suffered any connection issues on the live end, the entire VOD will be up either late tonight or early tomorrow morning on my VOD channel on YouTube, CN Games. I keep saying it's my second channel because technically it is, but there's more content on there than there is on my main channel, and content is more regularly posted there on my main channel. So maybe, I don't know. Maybe I should recontextualize which of my channels is my main channel at this point. But all of the VODs are up on my VODs channel and gaming content related channel as a whole. CN Games on YouTube, just CN, the letters, Games on YouTube. Just look it up. You don't even have to type in a URL. The profile picture is very similar to the one that we use here on the Kick channel. And if you are watching on the VODs, first of all, thank you. Thank you so much. It means a ton to me that you would be watching on the VODs. I hope you like, comment, and subscribe. All the normal YouTube stuff. Check the description for links to the Kick channel hopefully you'd want to follow and watch us live. To my main channel, which again I should probably recontextualize which of my channels is my main channel, as well as to a bunch of other ways you can support me completely voluntarily. I don't need you guys to do any of that stuff. It would be like it's miraculous enough that you guys are interested in watching my content. I'm eternally grateful for that. I think that's everything. If you are watching the day that this is uploaded, or if you're watching live, we will not be streaming on Sunday the 14th. Sunday the 14th, I am taking the day off. I'm taking Sundays off from now on. I have been for the past few weeks. But we will be back on Monday the 15th with, hopefully, the Pokemon League. We'll be fighting the Pokemon League, and hopefully just absolutely wrecking shop. Just wrecking shop with the Pokemon League. That would be really, really cool. All right, I think that's just about everything we've got for today. Once again, thank you all so much for watching, and I will catch you Monday, approximately the same bat time, definitely the same bat channel. Have a good one.